Hey, what's up? If you have a Jeep like mine, you might have the same problem in the wintertime where the transmission hoses shrink away from the compression fittings and drop spots of transmission oil on your driveway, leaving a little spot. You could take that apart and change just a rubber hose. And if you could do this job, it's just with simple tools, and it's really fast and really cheap. So let's get started. Okay, so we got the Jeep up on the lift here, and I got a bird's eye view of the problem. And first thing I want to do is collect the oil that you're going to drop. What I'm using is one of these bigger funnels are typically used for transmissions, and I have a bucket inside a garbage bucket, and that's going right there, and that's going to catch anything. Obviously you have the engine off so you don't have any pressure. And now I'm just going to start cutting the hoses, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Okay, there's our culprits right there, and you can see the fluid dripping right off that fitting right there, and that's what happens. These things are compressed in some kind of device. I use one to make hydraulic hoses, and you know, once they're compressed like that, you can't do it again and make it tighter. So what I'm going to do is, my first attempt is going to be to open them up and remove the hose. I'm going to trim back the barrel section of this right here, and the reason why is a lot of times inside this tubing here has flares on it, so the hose, when it slides on, it has those flares, so when you clamp it, it resists the fact that to try to pull out of there. You know, it's like a barb or something. That's going to be, I'm hoping that these lines have that feature inside. If they don't, I'm going to use more of the hose and make it go further back on the line to help it resist temptation to try to pop off, which is unlikely because I'm going to double clamp everything. So my first order of business is to cut the barrel section, the side of it, one slice like here. And there's a bunch of ways you could do it. I think I'm going to use a cutoff wheel. I'm trying not to block the camera, which is making it a little tougher to work with, but we'll get the idea here. So the thing is, you just want to get that metal off. And another tool that would be nice is one of those electric Dremels. A little less cumbersome getting up in there. But this is now, once you take hold of it, it starts to peel away because it's aluminum, it's brittle. And it comes right out. Okay, so that's the idea. So that's what happens when you cut it open. You're going to get, it grips around the, you can see that, right? So I made 2 cuts on this one, I think, and then I started to pry it. I was trying to cut it a little bit with side cutters. And then I just went and got a kind of like one of those hook tools. It's like just a bent elbow, and it had come to a point and just kind of pried it off. So now I'm going to go back to the hose now. Alright, so you see how this, basically you're shelling this clamp and you get rid of it. And I did no harm to the hose beneath it. And there is the ridges on there. Hopefully you could see that. I'm losing a little fluid. I'm not going to reuse this rubber hose, obviously. And it does have the ridges on there that prevent the new hose from wanting to pull its way off. So you can see that I'm going to be reusing this tube, and now all I got to do is cut 3 more and replace the tubing. So without further ado, I'll just speed through that. Okay, hopefully you can see that. I got all the ends off. Probably took me about 15 minutes after I figured out exactly what I was dealing with on the first one. I used this this tool with a hook on it to kind of pry the edges out, and that really worked well. So now what I did is I cut 2 lengths of hose that I'm about to put on, and my recommendation on that, or anybody's, would be is make sure the hose is rated for oil to go through it, and not just probably gasoline or anything that could swell it. And this hose here was rated for gas, diesel, ethanol, and some kind of other word they used, I can't remember, for like waste, like you know, like bad gas or something like that. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to put 2 clamps on each end. This trick is not anything that I have just learned recently. I've been doing this for a long time. I remember the first time I ever learned it off somebody else, an old-timer. The best tricks sometimes are the old-timers, even though I'm becoming one. The old-school fuel injectors, I had a little piece of rubber hose on them, and sometimes down towards the injector, they had one of those kind of clamps on them. And then the other end, it would go up on the fuel rail, and a lot of times you'll have a removable clamp on them, or if it had both types of clamps on both ends. The only difference is you don't want to use anything with sparks around fuel. So I remember this guy told me, I don't remember how we opened it up, I think we just a pair of tin snips or something, and he showed me just go around it, make a little, you know, some cuts, and then you just start prying and it snaps away, and save a leak in fuel injector. Alright, so that about does it. Just a real simple trick. Like I said, didn't take me much time at all. You could use it on fuel injectors and anything that has that kind of clamp apparatus, other than, say, hydraulic hoses. I wouldn't want to clamp them with regular hose clamps, because the pressure that they're under is a lot higher, and it probably will pop apart with just hose clamps on it. But anything else you find that has those kind of clamps, I've done it on a lot of different things, mostly transmission lines and fuel, actually. So that's the trick for today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.